our next module or functionality here in the Take Action section will be messages, right? So we talk about campaigns. They are a way to bring messages together into a unified goal. And in messages, we can just build individual messages, right? So we don't have to make them part of a campaign. We can just have a one-off message that can be sent at different intervals. So as I mentioned, there's a few different kinds of messages here, right? We have the email, SMS, push, and NAP, as we saw before, webhooks if you want to fire something externally. So let's look at email. It's a very classic one, right? We can have a test email. Let's say test email. We can choose where it comes from, right? And then let's do test subject, test body, right? We can add links, we can add images. We can also add HTML if that's what we really wanted to, right? And we have a few options here: unsubscribe links, email open rates, and so on. The unsubscribe link is interesting. If the user unsubscribes from an email in Mixpanel, they'll get a people property that prevents them from being sent any future messages, and you can also use that in your analysis. One common challenge that companies will have is they might have a lot of users in Mixpanel that might be unsubscribed, but they might have another email list somewhere else, like in Marketo or MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or whatever they use, where they're not unsubscribe, right? So keeping those two in sync, those unsubscribes in sync, can be a challenge for companies. So that's something to keep in mind whenever you do messaging from multiple platforms, right? Last thing you want is for you to say, hey, I subscribe from here. Why didn't you unsubscribe from another list? You know, they don't really know where the emails are coming from. We can send a quick preview to an email if that's where we really wanted to. In this case, let's just continue on. And here we can build criteria, right? So we can use the people properties that we have, and of course events. So here's where we can build very custom criteria. We can say, show me something that was last seen less than 2 weeks ago, and who go to events, who hasn't or has performed this event within the last 90 days. Actually, use an action number, something like this. So, 4 times or more in the last 90 days, right? And we have a few things here, right? Here is actually that people property that I was saying, that unsubscribe people property, right? Default ones, okay. And then now we get this messages, and now we can set it up, right? Once we have that, we can continue on based on that criteria, and we can send this now, right? Later date. We can make it recurrent, so it fires as soon as the criteria is met, maybe on a daily basis, weekly basis, and so on. So this is where, if you develop the logic of messages and you set them up, you can have something that keeps recurring and keeps engaging your users automatically, right? Which is a big plus. You don't have to manually send this every single time. And then, we'll be back here, we see any active or inactive messages, and then we can do the same for SMS or push or anything else, and you get an appropriate screen for each of those messages, right? So that's really it. This is a really powerful feature, and as I mentioned in another video, typically a really good point that tends to swing companies for Mixpanel. Just the ability to send messages out of the box with all your data can be a big deal, right? It can be hard to replicate if you have an external system and you have to figure out how to send your event data to that system and so on. So having this all here and be able to use to send messages is a big plus for a lot of companies.